Welcome to a Monday. Can you believe it's Monday already? Mornings with Ken Rosato. Monday, April 20th, 2026. We will take your calls. 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. We say good morning to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State and the nationwide forecasts. Mike, so
Yeah.
I know you were about to rush to the phones and dial 888-658-0234, but you can't because you got to do the forecast for the New Jersey, New York area, for Southern California, and you might even tweak in a little South Florida, I should say, for all our folks at onfla.com.
Well,
Just
I was
saying.
about to dial, but my fingertips were numb because it's so cold this morning, Ken. See, that's
It
the
is.
problem. When the air is this chilly, had the little frost on the car tops, the rooftops this morning because there was very cold weather that drove down temperatures last night. And now across all of the Northeast, even down through the mid-Atlantic and points south, there's a freeze warning in effect, not for this morning, but for tomorrow morning for even colder weather that it comes on down. Look at all the way down into North Carolina, frost advisories in that light shade of blue, even headed into the Corn Belt. So there is so much cold weather that comes back. But first, we get a little bit of rain later on this morning. We start off nice and clear right now. Even at 7 a.m., you see a couple blubs of these little blips here on the radar screen because that's a very technical meteorological term, blip, right there in the shades of purple and blue. Those are some flurries and little rimed ice pellets or grapple falling from the sky, some soft hail, the kind of little dipping dots that fall from the sky, and it's like a squishy styrofoam pellet. That's rimed ice that is basically the snowflake that's picking up moisture on the way down from the cloud and turning into what looks like a little bit of hail. Those are moving through right now and will be around for this morning, but behind that is a little bit of rain that comes in later on this morning, some of that moving through eastern Pennsylvania. So the future cast showing a little bit of wet weather developing for the rest of the morning. Even though we're clear right now, it turns wet later on this morning, and with some clouds around, some showers, that'll take us through the early afternoon. When we clear out tonight, the temperature really drops. We get that northerly breeze, allowing for temperatures to dive down into the teens and 20s tonight. Yes, very cold weather on the way. Likely even setting some temperature records for lows overnight. And then by Wednesday morning, we have another round of the showers and storms that come in with a warm front as another system works on by. That will clear out by Thursday. So Thursday is clear again, but it stays cool for the remainder of this week, starting to warm things up later on this weekend. With all of the clouds and showers that were around yesterday, all that is far offshore. But you see off to our west, now our next system comes in and gives us that little bit of rain later on this morning, mixed with some snow at times. So some cold, wintry feels on the way back for these first few days of this next week in April. Unusual this late in April to have so much cold weather around. You know, we had 70s on Saturday. It was hot last week, and here we are back to a little taste of seasons past.
But Mike, didn't we just have 70 something degrees
We
on
did
Saturday? Yeah, I
record
just want to make
setting. It was in
sure.
the 90s last week. The 90s, Ken. Now we're back to freezes and frost advisories.
You were about to say freezing our butts off. I know you were,
Well,
and you
that
just
too.
get into the daddy and you kind of cleaned it up. But yeah, this is unbelievable. What a change in temps. And I mean, I'm looking at the Southern California's in the 50s, but we are down to 38 in is this possible? 38 degrees in northern New Jersey. That is just burr.
It's
I,
30
I
right now in Morristown. It is that cold.
Wow. And I
Yeah.
thankfully last night put my tender plants, I love that term, tender plants,
Hmm.
in the garage because I saw your forecast and I said,
Yeah.
it is not like me to doubt Mike. So I took my plants in. It's a good thing. My little baby basil plants, and they would have been frozen basil plants today. So it's a good thing. All right, Mike, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much. Oh,
You
it's
bet.
actually now 37, it says, northern New Jersey, and 32 degrees in Trenton. That's chilly. That's chilly willy. All right, so we take a look at the traffic right now. And what we have here for the Northeast, the only thing we have is on the New Jersey Turnpike, we have a disabled tractor trailer and a crash. And that is at the Western Spur southbound, entering at interchange 15E by 1 and 9 in Newark. There's a partial ramp blockage, and of course, a lot of people passing by taking a look at it. Your Lincoln and Holland Tunnel approaches right now are 25 minutes in. It's a little more at the GWB. Check this out. Upper and lower levels are starting to get heavy. This is 30 minutes. at this point. So the upper level of 8095 approach is on the right, lower level is on the left. It is still moving, though. That is not a bad deal. None of the approaches are awful right now, but nonetheless, it is happening. You can see right there about a 30-minute delay going in GWB, and that's what your commute is. Not so horrible, as my friend Joe Nolan used to say. It doesn't suck a lot. That's what he used to say on the air. It doesn't suck a lot. There, that's a little homage to my friend Joe. Over on the West Coast, we have a traffic collision reported, Altadena. And this is on the 5 at Burbank Boulevard. And then we have Santa Fe Springs, a traffic collision at the 91 and the 605. And then we're, let's see, at 110th Street, 2508, 110th Street in South LA. There's a crash there. And now a collision just happened, West LA at 4431 Angeles Vista Boulevard. It is 6 minutes past the hour, and President Trump says Iranian leaders have agreed to our peace plan and will sign the agreement tonight in Islamabad, Pakistan, or Trump says he'll blow up their country. This after certain Iranian leaders spread what appears to be propaganda, saying the Strait of Hormuz was closed once again. Trump's Middle East envoy will head to Pakistan for the signing. Apparently, there was one Iranian vessel that tried to leave the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian vessels are the only ones that the U.S. right now are keeping in the Strait of Hormuz. Every other vessel can come in and out, no matter where you're from, except for Iranian vessels. So this one Iranian vessel attempted to get out. The U.S. said, don't. The vessel continued. Then the U.S. gave them a warning and said, we're going to blow up your engine room. And they did. So we sent would be not a missile. It would be the underwater thingy. And it it blew up the engine room. Nobody apparently got hurt because they gave him a warning. But don't mess around with Trump. You don't know. People on the left say he's crazy. Well, that's what he's counting on, that everybody thinks he's crazy. So Trump's Middle East envoy, as I said, will head to Pakistan for the signing. Special envoy Steve Witkoff will land in Islamabad this evening. Trump says the meeting will be brief. He's just going to go there, sign the documents, leave. No discussion. Meanwhile, Iran's new Ayatollah, the gravely injured Iranian Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, issued a threatening message over the weekend amidst a truce with Israel that's scheduled to expire Wednesday. The message came on Saturday, which was Iranian Armed Forces Day by coincidence, and it was allegedly from the new Ayatollah, who has not been seen once since he allegedly took control of the regime during the February 28th U.S.-Israeli airstrike that killed his father, Ali Khamenei. President Trump signed an executive order on Saturday that directs the FDA to expedite their review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. That means they were drugs that in small studies already showed some promise. So basically, he signed an executive order that says if you've exhausted all means of treatment, you have no other means, and you sign a document that leaves the United States and the drug manufacturer in other words, you're not going to sue us. You can try these experimental drugs. So that's what the executive order says. The executive order would implement reforms to accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on those psychedelic drugs, citing veteran suicide rates. So what's your option? The veterans commit suicide because of incredible depression, or they try these treatments. Now, some of these treatments have 80 to 90% success rates, but in small studies. It's only 40 or 50 people. But that's an incredible success rate. The president pointed out that a 2024 Stanford University study of this small group of veterans with traumatic brain injury showed that when they underwent what's called ibogaine treatment, they experienced that incredible reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within a month. Ibogaine is derived from the root bark of a Central African shrub. So I don't know how they discovered it. Somebody went on a little research and found that there's a toad. We show a toad because toads also excrete an hallucinogenic substance, and it's to prevent other animals from attacking it. So if a snake tastes the toad, the snake hallucinates. That's why the outside of the toad has these little membranes that make this substance. But the question is, can we harness that? And apparently we've been able to harness it from the shrubs in Africa. 10 minutes past, a number of people have been reported hurt in what appears to be a mass shooting near the campus of the University of Iowa following a wild brawl early yesterday. Police responded to a big fight at the pedestrian mall in Iowa City. I've been there myself. Just before 2 a.m., when arriving officers heard shots ring out. Video shared on social media showed scores of people crowded around a brawl. Several posts showed people running away from the gunshots. The Number of victims or the severity of their injuries not immediately known, but reports say at least 6 people had to be hospitalized. And that heroic Oklahoma high school principal shot while tackling a Columbine obsessed school shooter was crowned prom king and hailed by students for saving their lives. Pauls Valley High School students in Oklahoma City gave Kirk Moore the touching prom night tribute Friday night, just weeks after he was shot in the leg while fearlessly wrestling down an armed ex pupil who stormed into the school lobby with 2 loaded guns. Showed the principal high-fiving cheerleading students while walking through the crowd after the DJ declared him the king and blasted Nickelback's Hero. Spirit Airlines has turned to the Trump administration for an emergency government bailout as it faces the possibility of complete liquidation. The request is for hundreds of millions of dollars in emergency funding. It's a last-ditch attempt to survive a fuel crisis that has wiped out the airline's restructuring plan before it had a chance to take hold. Spirit had appeared to be regaining its footing. Days before the Iran war began, Spirit actually reached an agreement with its lenders on a restructuring plan that would cut its fleet and reduce flights during most of the year. The airline had also outlined changes to its guest loyalty program and introduced programs and premium economic choices to attract higher spending travelers. It had said publicly in February it was back on track to exit bankruptcy as early as this spring. Then February 27th happened. The military operations began in Iran, resulting in those sky-high jet fuel prices. A major new study shows that taking a break from social media may come with a real benefit. Stanford University researchers had 36,000 Facebook and Instagram users log off in the weeks leading up to the 2020 presidential election, and the results showed their emotional well-being improved. The results showed a clear lift for Facebook users who stayed off the platform. For Instagram, the strongest improvements were seen among women ages 18 to 24. They seem to get obsessed with politics online, as we have seen. The study stands out as one of the largest experiments of its kind. YouTube and Instagram recently got slapped with a massive $6 million bill after Los Angeles decided their addictive apps were to blame for a young woman's mental health spiral. And he called former Congressman Eric Swalwell, quote, an effing creep. Comedian Bill Maher blasted the man accused of sexual assault in a real-time takedown Friday, pointing to previous encounters with the disgraced Democrat that raised red flags. He said Swalwell's alleged sexual misconduct was a badly kept secret. Maher then brought up a number of other badly hidden secrets involving figures in the past who faced similar allegations, including Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and Bill Clinton. Maher's comments come as Swalwell battles a number of sexual misconduct and harassment allegations from 5 different women who came forward to recount their experiences. The Department of Justice and district attorneys for both Manhattan and Los Angeles are reportedly investigating Swalwell. Coming up on 13 minutes past the hour, meteorologist Mike Favetta will return with your full forecast. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. We're back in 2. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Monday live in New Jersey and New York. And now we welcome Los Angeles at 15 minutes past the hour. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta joins us now with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Ken. Ken, a little bit of cold weather coming back. Got to get the winter parka back out after so much heat and sunshine over the weekend. It's incredible. Had the splash table out for the kid, and now here we are with back to the freezing weather. With the weather that's so cold, you're right. You have to take the seedlings, the plants in, the sensitive outdoor potted plants, because we're back into a freeze warning tonight, a deep freeze on the way for New Jersey. That comes after a little bit of wet weather this morning. We had a light shower around for Monday morning, and then again, some more rain on Wednesday that will give us some showers throughout the morning, clearing by the afternoon, and then by the afternoon, highs, get this, they spike back into the 70s. It's like you have to dress for all four seasons in just a matter of days. Now, the rest of the week beyond that should remain dry, but the weekend is shaping up to be rather wet, especially on Saturday, with rain lasting all throughout the day. Sunday likely has some showers and clouds around, so a pretty damp weekend ahead as temperatures cool off and settle somewhere in the 50s and low 60s. So it'll be rather cool this upcoming weekend. The big picture shows that high pressure that'll get us cold tonight moves in across the northeast, also down across Florida. You stay nice and dry. It's out west that all of these showers keep entering the Pacific Northwest, including as far south as, say, San Francisco. So all of that moisture keeps moving on in, and places down like LA and San Diego, you start to tap into that wet weather as well by the middle of the week. So rain out on the west coast this week, whereas out on the east coast, we stay dry, with the exception of a few shower chances, not only today, but also on Wednesday. And then by Friday, starting to see our weekend turn a little bit wet as soon as Saturday and Sunday. That'll keep pollen levels a little bit lower. It knocks the pollen level down for trees to the moderate level, and you've seen the explosion of pollen across everywhere here in New Jersey. You see the film on the car tops. You can, kind of see the puddles that have the little bit of a sheen on top of them. That's going to be the case even as we head through this week. But look at those showers there in the Pacific Northwest as all of this rain moves in with the next weather system. This will be our rain by the time we get to this weekend. So it's a pretty potent system. And now we're starting to see some clarity as to how much rain falls this upcoming weekend, Ken. After a nice dry period here in New Jersey, well, now, we have to flip it and we get some wet weather that comes back and lasts for a few more days.
Well, not for anything but April showers, you know.
Yeah,
See how
yeah.
wise I am? I remember something from 200 years ago. April showers bring May flowers. But you can hear my voice. I'm sure you're feeling it, as you mentioned, with the pollen. On Friday, I got my car back, or Thursday, I got my car back from our car dealership, just a checkup, and it was washed and detailed and just spotless. By Friday morning, it looks like somebody could have written Lava May on the back. It was
Yeah,
just
that's it.
yellow pollen, filthy. And apparently it had drizzled or something overnight, Thursday into Friday.
Oh, even
So that
worse. Yeah.
compounded it. So I
Mhm.
go to pick up my mom on Friday and she says, "Do you ever wash your car?" Sorry. Thanks, Ma. Thanks. Appreciate it. 88
Honest
years
truth.
old. God bless you.
Yep.
There you go. All right, Sarah. Thank you. We will check back. Appreciate you as always. 34 degrees in Trenton, 37 degrees northern New Jersey, 31 right now in Morristown, as Mike had said a little earlier. Pretty cold. And on the West Coast, it just popped away. Let's see what we got. 58 degrees in Southern California right now, both in LA and in San Diego. Let's check out the traffic. We have a crash that is reported to crash on the New Jersey Turnpike. Let's take a look at this traffic. You see just a little bit of a buildup. It's actually moving, which is pretty better than it was. But this is by 15E. It's a mile marker 106.5 Eastern Spur north of the Southern Mixing Bowl. That's what you're looking at right there. The crash is brought over to the shoulder with a disabled truck. So this is just rubbernecking, but it is moving. There's a debris spill right now on Route 17 northbound at Williams Avenue in Hasbrook Heights. Right lane is currently closed. And the GWB, actually, first let's talk about the Lincoln and Holland, both moving at about We have a 25-minute delay into Manhattan, which is not bad at this hour. GWB upper and lower levels now moving as well, slowly but moving. It's only going to cost you 25 to 30 and upper level on the right, lower on the left. To the west coast we go. We have a traffic collision reported in Altadena. This is at the 5 and West Burbank Boulevard, and that is, again, Altadena over to Santa Fe Springs, traffic collision at the 91 and the 605. And then at 2508 East 110th Street in South LA, there's another crash that just happened. We have a crash also in Baldwin Park where the 210 and the 39 off-ramp meet. 21 minutes past the hour, a horrific scene in Newark late Friday night when a massive blaze ripped through several buildings, injuring 6 firefighters and leaving scores of residents with no place to live. The flames started about 10:30 inside a commercial building on Jefferson Street in the Ironbound before spreading to 4 buildings nearby, including at least 3 multifamily homes. Flames burst through the windows as smoke alarms could be heard wailing, while more than 100 firefighters spent hours working that fire. It took 5 hours to get under control. It was after 3 in the morning when they finally did. 60 people now homeless, unfortunately. The American Red Cross, though, is helping 15 families with temporary housing, clothing, and food. The cause of the fire, not yet known. It is under investigation. 22 minutes past, a man described as a MAGA influencer was attacked in West Hollywood by a gay couple after he questioned them about whether they are fit to be parents, leading to one of the men being arrested. Now, normally I would say, let's just say this, I'm never justifying assault, ever, ever. And there isn't a but here. I would say this, though. When you approach somebody with the intent of insulting, just to evoke a response, I'll let you judge after that. That's all I'm saying. There's no but. It still doesn't justify assault. When you walk up to 2 people who have a baby that is ostensibly their own, and you say the following. This is with Off the Record USA Riley Nemi. That's the guy you see walking up to them in the suit. He interviewed those 2 men at random. He didn't know them. They have a baby. He interviews them about adoption rights. One of the gay men attacked him. Now, in the clip, the influencer, Mr. Nemi, was attacked by one of the gay parents after Mr. Nemi dropped a statistic claiming, quote, gay men are statistically much more likely to commit child molestation, which, by the way, is not the case. That is actually not a true statistic. I can cite 1,000 examples showing the contrary. Same thing with priests in the Catholic Church. Priests in the Catholic Church, though there should not be one who commits any kind of sexual act, they actually commit those acts at a way lower rate than people at large in society. But yet, because they're priests, if one incident occurs, and rightfully so, they are castigated and the church is put a spotlight on. Doesn't justify it. I'm just saying you don't take what's a handful of incidents in a institution of 1.4 billion people in that case and say all priests are that. And in this case, you don't walk up to a gay couple who might be very good parents and say and suggest that, by the way, because you are a gay couple, you know that there's a good chance you're going to be molesting that little baby. And that's basically what he did. He pressed if the 2 men had paid $50,000 to a woman to be pregnant. One of the gay parents then questioned who the hell he was and then threatened to attack him, which parents would do in defense of your child, before Riley said they chased after him. The upset gay parent allegedly repeatedly struck him on the back of the head, causing Nemi to fall onto the camera. The attacker who allegedly assaulted him, his name is David Vullen, is now facing felony charges. I mean, there's, how it's the old saying is it takes two? Takes two. It is 24 minutes past. Ana Lilia Mejia, a one-time labor organizer backed by the ultra-leftists such as AOC and Senator Bernie Sanders, whom she worked for at one point. She is headed to Congress. Mejia, who ran on a platform of Medicare for all, a $25 minimum wage with the first $40,000 of income tax-free, a wealth tax, abolishing ICE, and holding President Trump and his administration accountable, defeated Republican candidate Joe Hathaway, who has appeared on this show. She was invited. She didn't come. This happened in Thursday's special election in New Jersey's 11th congressional district. Mejia will fill the final 8 months of the term that Governor Mikey Sherrill, who stepped down from Congress in November after winning the Garden State gubernatorial election. She evacuated the seat, and now Mejia will fill that seat for 8 months. Sadly, get this, of all eligible voters in the Garden State, only five, I've actually, excuse me, of all eligible voters in the 11th congressional district, you know what percent actually turned out and voted? And there's only 12,000 votes that separated Hathaway from her, from Mejia. And congratulations, Miss Mejia, Congresswoman elect. We hope you do very well, and we keep our fingers crossed for you too. Because if you do well, we do well. So we wish you well. 5%, only 5% of all those eligible to vote in the 11th district, in Democrat or Republican, only 5% turned out and voted. That's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. And you get what you get if you don't show up and vote. It doesn't just happen if you wish it. But like I said, I wish the lady on your screen, I wish her well, and I hope she is a fantastic congresswoman, because if she is, then we all benefit and I'm in the 11th district. So Congresswoman-elect Mejia, we hope you do great. It is 7:26 Eastern Time, 4:26 West. Greta Thunberg, the radical environmentalist turned Palestinian activist, is back in the newspapers. Seems the leftists' Freedom Flotilla, which set sail from Barcelona yesterday for another anti-Israel voyage to Gaza, has been rocked by scandal after one of its woke leaders aboard the ship was accused of sexual misconduct with at least 3 volunteers on board. A Brazilian group named the alleged Lothario as activist Tiago Avila in an ex-post. The 39-year-old Avila sailed to Gaza in June aboard the 12-person Madeleine, where he was pictured with fellow activist Thunberg, arms around each other's shoulders, before they were eventually detained by Israeli forces and deported. He joined the larger 500 activist global Samud flotilla convoy in September, during which infighting among senior leadership led Thunberg to step down from the steering committee and off the main boat. The activist was then seen dragging her suitcase along a Tunisian dock to transfer to a different ship. Avila, who left his wife and 2-year-old daughter at home in Brazil to embark on what is now his 4th sailing trip since June, having gone twice to Gaza and once to Cuba, denied the accusations. 4 women are all lying, and he's telling the truth, obviously. Mayor Mamdani's New York appears to be out of control. Shocking video shot early Saturday morning shows reckless drivers. Well, first, this is the reckless drivers. It's awful. These are people who live in Queens, by the way, having to deal with this nonsense. They were doing donuts around flames in the street and waving a Palestinian flag. This was at 69th and Elliott in Queens. This is by Regal Park. Oh, I'm sorry. This is by Maspeth and Middle Village. I know that area. When I was a kid, one of my best friends lived there. Over 100 cars jammed the roads along the border, and nothing was done about it for over an hour. A man waved that Palestinian flag. He burned rubber, narrowly missing hitting some people there. Flames rose out of the street. Hordes of 20-somethings simply stood there and recorded reckless drivers who sped off when the cops got there. Cops only took a few minutes to get there, but nobody called them for a while, so this went on for a bit. People were terrified in the neighborhood. 3 people even jumped on top of one of the responding police cars and shattered its windshield before getting away. The NYPD says they responded in minutes, like I said, but it appears it may have been over an hour before the first call came in. One person out of all those hundreds, one person got a citation, but with New York City's no bail, no jail, the person basically just got a ticket and doesn't have to worry. Horror in Shreveport, Louisiana, after 8 children and teens were killed early yesterday in a mass shooting. The suspected shooter also dead. 10 people struck by gunfire in all in what police are calling a domestic incident. The ages of those killed, 1 to 14. God rest their souls. The shootings took place at different locations. Police say the shootings began at 6 a.m. inside a home. The suspect fled, believed to be the father. Carjacked, a vehicle was chased by police. Investigators say the suspect was killed after officers involved in that pursuit fired at the suspect. They say he acted alone. No one identified. Police are still investigating. And the 2022 deaths of Huntsville, Alabama-based researcher Amy Eskridge has now resurfaced online as the 11th case in a growing list of scientists who have died or disappeared under unusual circumstances. Her death has drawn renewed attention after at least 10 other recent cases involving individuals tied to U.S. military, nuclear, and aerospace research. These are scientists who just either died or disappeared, prompting questions about whether there's something nefarious going on. Is there a foreign government involved? President Trump said Thursday he was meeting on the issue. He called the situation serious. While officials have not confirmed a connection between those cases, it is kind of suspicious, don't you think? The overlap in timing and the individual's ties to advanced research fields has fueled growing speculation about what could be. It is 7:30, and when we come back, it is Pizza Meets Robots. We will speak with the New Jersey Pizza Alliance founder about X Pizza Day in Montville, which is today. We're back in 2 minutes. Be 3 minutes past the hour, Monday, April 20th, 2026. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato, live on the East Coast and the West. Meteorologist Mike Favetta joins us now. A chilly Garden State forecast. We kind of got a tease on Saturday in the Northeast, Mike, with temps in the 70s. Not so much today.
No, and when that wind shifted, man, did it get cold Saturday night. You felt the chill return with that wind off of the water, and that's what we're experiencing now. A very cold start to the morning. Temperatures around freezing, a couple snowflakes falling right there across northeastern New Jersey, mixed in with those showers. This is our first round of wet weather this morning, and there's more on the way, especially going into this afternoon. That will take over throughout the remainder of the morning. A lot of these showers lined up here off to the west after so much cold weather yesterday made it feel quite chilly. Well, that heat, it's going to be on, not only through tonight, but even through most of the day tomorrow with another round of chilly weather on the way. We head out west, though, where there's our next round of wet weather moves in across the Pacific Northwest. And I highlight this one specifically because not only does it give places like Southern California rain throughout the afternoon tomorrow into most of the day on Wednesday. It's that cloudy, damp feel that'll be around through the middle of the week. But this is our weather system that arrives and kind of helps us get back to a wet pattern here in New Jersey later on this weekend. And that will take over beginning on Friday night into Saturday. So while it's clear right now across most of the Southwest, this weather changes quickly as we look ahead to some kind of cool conditions across the Northeast with our next weather system. All of these clouds and showers you see off to our west, they have to make it through this morning. And then once we clear things out, it turns very cold again tonight, likely setting temperature records, Ken. The old record back from the 1950s was set at 34 degrees. I think we shatter that tonight and get down to 30 or 31. So really, really cold weather after breaking record highs just 4 days ago.
You know what? My basil plants really don't like you right now, Mike. I'm just saying, they really don't like. They were enjoying sunshine. They were blossoming, beautiful
Yeah.
green basil on Saturday. I put them in the garage right now. They're all like, That's what they look like. They look like, and I told them, "You could blame Mike Favetta for this." So they have your name and your number. I'm just saying. Okay,
Oh,
Mike,
okay.
we will check back. You don't know what basil sounds like when it's mad. You don't wanna know. You don't wanna know. All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. And by the way, talking about basil, it is a perfect transition into our next interview, which is going to be in about 30 seconds. First, we just want to tell you a couple of incidents. Route 130, we have a crash northbound at Farnsworth Ave in Bordentown. Two left lanes closed. Debris spill on 17 northbound Williams Ave and Hasbrook Heights. The right lane is closed there. The Hudson River crossings, Lincoln and Holland, only 20 minutes. GWB upper and lower is 25 to 30. Not so bad at all. So there you have it. It is 36 minutes past the hour, and the future of pizza is upon us. A man who by birth was created to talk pizza. His name is Pizzi, Pizzi, Anthony Pizzi, founder and head of the New Jersey Pizza Alliance, is holding what is called X Pizza Day today, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Columbia Inn on Main Road in Montville, New Jersey. Pizzeria owners from all over the place, elected officials, and the general public will gather to watch a pizza robot at work, and the first drone pizza delivery in the Northeast will take place today. It is a milestone. It is a record breaker. If you are a pizza lover, you will want to be there. We say good morning, Anthony Pizzi. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited.
You've been a busy man the last few weeks. My gosh, so run down what is going to be happening today.
Well, you kind of laid out a couple of things. We're gonna have pizza robots. We have this historic drone delivery that we're gonna be doing. And we have Tesla FSD drives going on. So we have a lot of stuff going on. Free pizza, free food, free Pepsi. It's going to be a ton of fun for everyone. We want everyone to come down. It's going to be a little chilly today, so make sure you wear a sweatshirt. And it's actually the perfect day for pizza eating. You don't want it to be too hot, Ken. You don't want it to be too cold. I think it's right in the middle. It's a perfect New Jersey spring day, and we're so excited to have everyone coming out this afternoon.
Sort of like the day of the marathon. You don't want it to be 60 on a marathon day. You want it to be in the 40s. And that
Yeah.
is exactly, we're at like 38 degrees. So this is sort of a pizza marathon. That's what this is. So if people want tickets, the tickets cost exactly that, right? They're free,
Yep.
which
Yep.
I don't know how you're doing it, but God bless you for doing it. But they do have to go online and get the tickets, right? They could just RSVP online. Is that correct?
So only for industry. If you're a shop
Oh,
owner
okay.
or if you're an industry leader in pizza or restaurant, we ask that you RSVP. That's the best way. If you're from the public and you want to come hang out and experience this historic moment, you're more than welcome to come. It's open to the public, and we invite everyone to come and enjoy some amazing pizza with us, with the Columbia Inn and the Cyber Pizza truck. So it's going to be really exciting, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it.
So talk about how big this has gotten. You have a couple of hundred people already slated to be there?
Yeah, we do. So we already have over 150 RSVPs. We're expecting a couple hundred people to come out. This event was supposed to be just a few hundred people, and now we have media, we have industry leaders, we have all these different companies that are bringing out robots. Like I said before, we have Tesla, and we have this drone company coming. I think a lot of people are going to be really impressed, and the best part about it, Ken, is this is not an expo. We're not going to have just people demonstrating things for people. We're actually going to get the public involved, which has really never been done. But we want to educate customers just as much as we want to educate shop owners on this new technology, because this is what they're going to start seeing in their local pizzerias across New Jersey. And I believe this event is going to set up New Jersey to become the Silicon Valley for pizza. And that's what I'm going to be talking today about in my presser after the drone lands. We're going to be talking about this, but that's what I believe the future of New Jersey is going to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have seen things like you've seen this Neapolitan craze because real Neapolitan people, we used to say, what the two slices are Sicilian and Napolitan. The American Neapolitan is not really Naples Neapolitan. It's New York style, right? So now in the last couple of years, we've seen this birth, this explosion of real Neapolitan pizza, which has the real puffy crust. The problem with that pizza, it doesn't last long getting from the pizzeria to the house. By the time it gets to your house, it's a soggy, floppy mess. That
Yep.
pizza doesn't last long, but drone delivery will get it there in minutes. So this is a
Yes.
game changer. This could change your style of pizza because now all the pizzerias may offer that style of pizza, which right now only certain places in the city or like in Montclair or whatnot offer that kind of pizza, right?
Well, Ken, what's really interesting is, obviously we have Dexa doing this drone delivery, but we're also bringing out some other new technology for delivery. So, one of them that really people aren't talking about is autonomous delivery, which I believe Tesla is going to be rolling out in the next year and a half across the whole country. So, people will be able to, hit a button and the car opens, you can get your food, and the car goes back to the shop for the next delivery. I think that's coming. And we also have Coco Robotics, which is literally a droid. I don't know if you're a Star Wars guy, but these droids are real, and these droids are delivering food in Jersey City right now, and they're coming out to X Pizza Day, so they're going to be there too. So we kind of have a little bit of everything. We have the ground, we have the air. I think in the near future, I just think this is a very repetitive task, Ken, that this is going to solve, and I think that's what robotics and AI and autonomous, delivery. I think all these things are going to be solving.
Yeah, we have tech usually at this time every week. We have tech guy Fisher who's on. He's not on today, but Fisher lives in the Atlanta metro, and he gets his delivery by a droid of Chick-fil-A. He always kids about it that when he
Wow.
gets Chick-fil-A, they deliver by droid. So they've been doing it there, but this
Yep.
is the first for us. This is a new for
Yep.
us in the whole Northeast. What's a website for the industry folks who want to get tickets? But anyone else could just walk in. But what's the website, Anthony?
Yeah, they can go to xpizzaday.com. And if you want any more information, it's on our Instagram at xpizzaday. We have everything on there, even on Facebook. We're on Facebook as well. So feel free to check it out there. But we're excited to see everyone. Let's make it a historic day. Let's do this, New Jersey. Let's get out there and let's support local pizza.
I know you got the mayor of Montville coming out, all the politicians. I know you got a bunch of TV, radio stations, and newspapers. We're going to be there. On New Jersey's going to be there, so it's exciting. We're going to take part. And what time are you? When are you assuming that you will get that drone launch? By the way.
So we actually had to check this morning for the launch window. The launch window is going to be at 12:30 p.m. That's when we're going to launch this thing.
That's exciting. All right, the first ever Northeast launch of a pizza drone. And you know where it's going? You have the destination already?
We're not telling anybody yet. You're going to find out when the video drops later on. But we do have a celebrity who's going to be taking the delivery. Everybody's going to really love this one.
We have a lot of celebs in this county, so that'd be very cool. Otherwise, my front door is always open. So in case you need the number two, you can always send it here. All right, it is called X Pizza Day. Just the letter X, not EX, just X Pizza Day, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Columbia Inn on Main Road in Montville. The public is welcome to come. Just walk on in. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The first drone pizza delivery in the Northeast taking place there today. As a robot is making pizza in the background, people can go press the buttons too. Anthony Pizzi, founder and head of the New Jersey Pizza Alliance. We will see you there today, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you, Ken. See you there.
All right, go to the mayor. He's going to get a proclamation at the mayor's office now. Good for him. 44 minutes past the hour. When we come back, we will have lots more. In fact, we're going to be talking with meteorologist Mike Favetta and give him a what's for about this cold weather. And we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. Back in two. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. 46 minutes past the hour. We will take your calls at 888-658-0234. We welcome in meteorologist Mike Favetta with the forecast nationwide. And the question is, are we going to eventually see real spring in the Northeast?
Eventually it'll last. It's like we have these false starts, we trip and fall, trying to leap towards spring. It's a little throwback to the very cold weather that we endured for this long, long winter. Well, we get another round that comes back tonight after some freezing weather around this morning, some frost across most of northern New Jersey, but there's a hard freeze on the way with some very cold weather diving down from the Great Lakes that arrives later on this evening, sending our lows back down below the freezing mark. Out west, our next weather system enters the picture, and this rain that's currently battering the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, that's what gives us our wet weather ahead for this weekend. So plan on some very dreary and cool and wet conditions on the way that arrives for New Jersey later on for Saturday and Sunday. So after so much warm weather last week, there are some areas in the forecast where we could get some sun. I think the first opportunity is later Wednesday afternoon, where highs bounce back into the low 70s with sunshine before cooling off into Friday with some clouds. There are the showers that come in for Saturday and likely linger into Sunday, whereas most of the deep south stays nice and dry, and this weekend is where the west coast starts to dry out a little bit. So, a flip in the forecast depending on where your location is going into this weekend. The futurecast showing a few showers around this morning, clearing out nicely by the overnight. That clear sky sends our temperatures nosediving into freezing territory, even sub-freezing territory in a lot of places. And then we get another quick round of rain late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning with a little bit of a warm-up with the warm front Wednesday afternoon. When we clear out, we're back to some cooler, drier weather for Wednesday afternoon and Thursday. And then Friday has some clouds around with some wet weather taking over by this weekend. The end of the month into the first few days of May, cooler than average conditions expected. So this lovely summertime feel we've enjoyed puts an end to it quickly. And that's the case for most of the country, except if you find yourself down in Florida or out along the West Coast, where it's slightly warmer than average. Also higher than average rain chances, a lot of rain forecast for the next several weeks there, with higher than average rain chances taking through the end of the month across most of the East Coast, even out in the desert Southwest where it's been rather dry. That's some good news there, because this area of the country tends to be rather dry. And even though most of Southern California not technically in a drought, it's a lot of the Rockies and a lot of down south where there's a substantial drought, even a pretty significant drought taking over across most of the southeast. When you take the country as a whole, Ken, this is really interesting. They call it the Palmer Index, and it's a drought severity index that looks at how much of the country's in a drought. The U.S. as a whole has not seen weather this dry in decades. So there's a good portion of the country that's in a drought, and a lot of that is centered out west and out across the south and southeast.
Didn't we have one of the wettest years on record last year for Southern
Mm,
California, right? After like
yeah.
years and years and years of drought, we got it all at
Yes,
once. And
that's
now
right.
we're back to, okay, you got it. Now enjoy. I hope you stored it in a big tank because now we're not going to give you any more. Is that what Mother Nature's telling us?
Well, looking at an El Nino year coming up, but more than just an El Nino year, there's a lot of heat below the tropical Pacific waters. And as that heat rises and creates those El Nino Southern Oscillation conditions, likely going to see bigger effects with potentially a super El Nino. So, more to come on that.
Mike, the woman or man who runs for president who
Mm,
has the following program, and I'm sure you're thinking it too, where we have a nationwide power grid, which I know certain,
yeah.
like Texas doesn't connect to it, but I know.
Hmm.
But for the most part, a nationwide power grid. Why not a nationwide water grid with giant pipes? And when this part of the country is in drought and this part is flooding, you just transfer some of the water over, charge them whatever you want. But this way, no one has to go without drinking. Maybe that's a crazy thought. Oh, I know it's not cheap, but I think that's got to be the next. We did it with highways, we did it with electricity. Why not water? It's sort of essential for life. You could live without electricity, can't live without water. Call me crazy. Just an idea. All right. Thank you, Mike. We will check back. I appreciate you. But yeah, pray for rain. I know a lot of people don't like rain. You better love it because that's the way we survive. It is 42 degrees now in the northern part of New Jersey. It is 40 in Trenton, and it is 58 in Southern California. Quick check of traffic. Debris spill Route 17 northbound by Williams Ave, Hasbrook Heights. Two right lanes closed. Crash on Route 130 northbound, Farnsworth Ave and in Bordentown Township. Two left lanes closed there. Lincoln and Holland both only reporting 20 to 25 NGWB upper and lower levels, now reporting 25 as well. We take a look at the GWB 8095 approach. That actually moves. Once you get past that camera spot, it's actually not so bad. So, not a bad way to get in. That's a better option. To the west coast, we have a collision to report East LA, and it's at the 60 and Santa Anita Avenue on ramp. It is 52 minutes past the hour. Across college campuses, there is a growing conversation around student mental health, purpose, and engagement. Many experts say the issue goes deeper than academics. While students may appear successful on paper, many are struggling with identity, direction, and a sense of belonging. The Epic of You explores how personal experiences, even the difficult ones, can shape purpose and help individuals reconnect with who they truly are. Joining us now is Peter H. Bailey, author of The Epic of You, to talk about why so many students feel disconnected and what can be done to change that. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning, Ken. Great to be on your show. Thanks so much.
Well,
You
it's
know,
nice to
it's
have
a,
you. So, talk about this. What do you mean by the idea that every cut on our diamond helps us shine more? Is that about experiences contributing to the way we live our lives?
yeah, I wrote this book kind of for people who are looking at transition, coming out of college, changing jobs later in life. And often you look back at the hard things, the bumps and scrapes, and we discredit those or we minimize those or we forget them and say they didn't matter. And actually, they do matter. And I like to say that every chip on the diamond lets in more of a shine to individuals. And I think, particularly, all the surge of college students graduating, this is a crazy time in our world today. And it's pretty stressful to figure out, how do I make a difference? Where do I go? And one of the things we notice is that there is this disease of comparison that I grew up with, and that's in the book. And I want to just sort of remind people, try not to compare yourself to other people. Think of yourself as an experiment of one, and you be the very best Ken, and I'll be the very best Peter, and not try to be, oh, he's got this and I've got that. How do we kind of live a new life that's really independent of anybody else and carve our own path?
Peter, how much of that, though, is the fault of social media? You see this groupthink that happens when the one person with the 10 million followers is doing whatever and looking a certain way, neglecting the thought that, well, maybe they doctored it up a little bit electronically to make them look like that. But suddenly we all have to be or act like that person.
Right. I do think social media, for all the good things it brings, can be a trap, and it compares moments in time, their externals to my internals. And it basically brings up the cortisol of, I'm not enough and I'll never be enough. And I didn't have a fair start and any of that stuff. And I think that we need better solutions coming from people who are more creative, more inventive, have different imaginations and perspectives. And you're not going to get that if you try to sort of match the common person. Let's find a way to encourage, through our universities and our high schools and colleges, ways for us to really encourage individuality.
Yeah. Now, many people assume that students today are not motivated. You say that is not the case. And this is a brilliant thought. I never gave this thought, that it's not that they're not motivated, they're disconnected. Talk about the difference, because this explains Gen Z perfectly, please.
Well, I think part of it is we're all looking for purpose. And how do we find that? And if we can ask ourselves a couple of questions of, who am I and why am I here? And what are my unique gifts? There's that wonderful phrase that your calling is where the world's great need meets your great gladness. What is your great gladness? What are you most set up for? You are so good at what you do, Ken. You probably knew that along the way, that I want to be talking to people and bringing information to the masses. You know, you found that out early. And the more we can line up with our passions sooner, then we've got a long road ahead to just deliver as much and as well as we can.
And the definition of that would be some of the Gen Zers we're seeing, and I know this sounds like I'm speaking Pollyannishly or generically, but some of the Gen Zers we see excel beyond previous generations. And then there are so many that appear to be just, on their devices. But you're saying that they just haven't found that connection yet. And when they find that connection, they'll be focused like a laser beam.
Well, yeah, and I think we also have to look at, well, what is it about that they can um, build on? If you're drawn to plants, you're drawn to animals, you're drawn to tech, you're drawn to automobiles, follow your bliss. A lot of the book is uncovering the heroic journey that Joseph Campbell talked about. And he says, follow your bliss. What are the things that make you happiest rather than trying to compare to somebody else? Follow that.
And Peter, you talk about specific signs that parents or educators should look for that indicate that a student is struggling with a kind of disconnection. So, what are those signs?
Well, obviously, isolation, they say, is fatal. And so, if my wife works at the university here in Minnesota, and 30 to 60 days, students have to find their group, their people. And so, where are you seeing them find a group of people they say they belong to? And if they haven't, how can we support them in connecting to other people? We're hardwired for connection, Brene Brown says. Let's help people find ways to connect, whatever it is, and build those opportunities on our college campuses. And frankly, as people retire and go through life, where are we connecting, not isolating?
Perfect. Well, Minnesota is one of the most beautiful states in the country, by the way. For those who've never been, it is gorgeous. I'm jealous of you. What is a website, Peter, for more information or to get the book?
Yeah, it's www.peter-bailey.com. It's in all the local bookstores. It just dropped on Audible. So if you're a commuter, and I'm from New York, so I did a lot of commuting, it's a great read I did the reading myself. So thanks so much, Ken, and I'm excited to hear how it goes for people. Please have them respond to me.
Thank you. Peter H. Bailey, author of The Epic of You. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Have a great day.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
You bet. And for those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news. If you're watching on New Jersey, we'll be right back with New Jersey news, opinion, weather, and traffic. Thanks for watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. Very good morning. It's 8:01, Monday, April 20th, 2026. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, taking calls at 888-658-0234. A couple of clouds early, becoming partly cloudy later, meaning some sun will break through. Highs maybe 50. Really, after this weekend? Meteorologist Mike Favetta, we take you on cam and say, what is that about? Hmm?
Yeah, highs will make it to 50, but we're back in the freezer again tonight. With freeze warnings already up for New Jersey for tonight's record cold, we'll be in the 20s across most of northern New Jersey. The entire state, north to south, now that the growing season has begun, is in that freeze warning. And oh, yeah, it's going to be cold with that weather staying chilly even throughout tomorrow later in the afternoon. The temperatures right now have warmed substantially from this morning's lows. We were back up above the freezing mark everywhere across New Jersey. The sun doing its job, but still, it'll feel quite chilly compared to this time yesterday. This is the kicker. We're running 16 to 18 degrees colder, and it was chilly yesterday morning with that cold weather around. So 18 degrees colder than 8 o'clock yesterday morning in Sussex, and the rest of the state faring chilly as well. A little bit of a breeze out of the south and west. Starting to see some sun this morning, but quickly going back to clouds, and even a few flurries up there with some grapple falling up in the hills up in Sussex County. Southern part of the state could tap into a little bit of rain. These are some showers that will move through this morning, giving us a light sprinkle right through the lunch hour, and then we see some clearing this afternoon. But it's the cold air for tomorrow morning that sends temperatures right down back into the 20s and low 30s across all of New Jersey. We get another round of wet weather after some sunshine tomorrow afternoon. That rain lasts into early Wednesday and then clears by the afternoon. And then with the warm front, we're back up at 71 degrees on Wednesday afternoon. Go figure. Yeah, I know. In just a span of 48 hours, we get these big temperature swings, 75 there in Camden. Thursday is dry and still a little bit milder, back in the 60s. But Friday, with the clouds and the cooler weather, sends our temperatures back down into cool territory with some rain on the way for the weekend. So a little bit of a climb after a cold start this week, back into the 70s, and then we'll let you know how cool it gets for this weekend and when that rain comes in, Ken. Coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike. Thank you, sir. Wow, it is 41 degrees now, northern New Jersey, 38 in Trenton. Just slowly trying to creep up as the sun makes its way through the clouds. And we are looking at a little bit of traffic to talk about. Let's first start with an incident. There's a debris spill now on Route 17, northbound at Williams Avenue, Hasbrook Heights, 2 right lanes of 3 lanes closed. Oh, Pam, we just got something in here. There is a crash that just occurred eastbound on I-80. West of exit 42, Route 202, Littleton Road, Parsippany, Troy Hills. All lanes are open. I know exactly where that is. That's a very busy area. So that's going to cause some delays. So that's I-80 crash eastbound west of exit 42, Route 202, Littleton Road, Parsippany, Troy Hills. All lanes are open, but nonetheless, just beware of that because that's going to cause some delays as we move on. We have some problems now. These are just congestion slowdowns. Let's go over to the Garden State Parkway, shall we? And this is in the area of Bloomfield as you make your way northbound on the Garden State. Pam, do we have it at 148? There it is. All right, so it's a little slow. You see one car off on the left, on the shoulder there, I should say, and otherwise it's moving, but it's on the slow side. This is just simply volume, and I am seeing now on 287 some slowdowns. Now there's a slowdown northbound, north of the Turnpike to north of exit 3, New Durham Road in Edison. All lanes open, but that's about a 3-mile delay there, and a 2-mile delay on 287 northbound from north of exit 8, Possumtown Road. There you go, Possumtown Road in Piscataway Township to south of exit 12 in Franklin, all lanes open, but nonetheless, a little bit of a delay there. Just nothing to write home about, but to let you know about that. Your Hudson River crossings, Lincoln and Holland now reporting 30 minutes in, and GWB is up to 35 to 40, upper and lower levels, upper level on the right, lower level on the left. Still moving, but quite heavy. It is 8:05, and President Trump says Iranian leaders have agreed to our peace plan and will sign the agreement tonight in Islamabad, Pakistan, or President Trump says he'll blow up their country. This after certain Iranian leaders spread what appears to be propaganda saying the Strait of Hormuz was closed once again. Trump's Middle East envoy will head to Pakistan tonight for the signing. Special envoy Steve Witkoff will land in Islamabad this evening. Trump says the meeting's going to be brief. He's going in to sign the papers and get back on the plane and fly back. Meanwhile, Iran's new Ayatollah, the gravely injured Iranian Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, issued a threatening message over the weekend amidst a truce with Israel that is scheduled to expire on Wednesday. The message came on Saturday, which was Iranian Armed Forces Day, and it was allegedly from the new Ayatollah, who, by the way, has not yet been seen since supposedly taking control of the regime during the February 28th U.S.-Israeli airstrike that killed his father, Ali Khamenei. By the way, one thing that did occur over the weekend, it occurred yesterday, when the U.S. Declared, again, that we are in total control of the Strait of Hormuz. Every ship from any country is allowed in and out except for an Iranian ship going to an Iranian port. You're not allowed in and out. And apparently one ship left an Iranian port, was warned by the U.S. to stop and go back. They didn't. Then we warned them that if they continued, we would blow up their engine room. They continued. We warned, you better get out of the engine room. We don't know if they did or not. We blew it up. So the ship is still floating. Apparently, we boarded the ship and took over. But, we warned you over and over again, including in Farsi. And you don't want to listen to us? We're going to blow up your ships, and then we'll blow up your country. So you had 1,001 chances. How many more chances do you want? It is 8:07. President Trump signed an executive order Saturday that directs the FDA to expedite the review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. The executive order would implement reforms to accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs, citing veteran suicide rates. The president pointed out that a 2024 Stanford University study of 30 special operation veterans with traumatic brain injuries showed that when they underwent treatment with a drug called ibogaine, they experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Ibogaine comes from the root bark of a Central African shrub. And by the way, we were showing a toad there. There you go, because a lot of tribes have licked toads to hallucinate because they put out an extract, if you will, on their skin that causes hallucinogenic impacts. And now it's being studied as to how that impacts the human brain. There's one study that says that ibogaine not only helps people get out of depression, but can actually heal damaged parts of the brain. Very small study, very early, but if that's the case, that's a breakthrough. That would be amazing for so many of our vets who have brain injury. It is 8:09 now. A number of people have been reported hurt in what appears to be a mass shooting near the campus of the University of Iowa following a wild brawl early yesterday. Police responded to a large fight in the pedestrian mall of Iowa City just before 2 a.m. when arriving officers heard shots ringing out. Video shared on social media showed scores of people crowded around the brawl there, and separate posts showed people running away from the gunshots. The number of victims or the severity of their injuries not immediately known, but reports say at least 6 people had to be hospitalized. 8:09, the heroic Oklahoma high school principal shot while tackling a Columbine-obsessed school shooter was crowned prom king and hailed by students for saving their lives. Pauls Valley High School students in Oklahoma City gave Kirk Moore the touching prom night tribute Friday night, just weeks after he was shot in the leg while fearlessly wrestling down an armed ex-pupil who stormed into the school lobby with 2 loaded guns. The clip shows the principal high-fiving cheering students while walking through the crowd after the DJ declared him the king and blasted Nickelback's Hero. Spirit Airlines has turned to the Trump administration for an emergency government bailout as it faces the possibility of complete liquidation. The request is for hundreds of millions of dollars in emergency funding, a last-ditch attempt to survive a fuel crisis that has wiped out the airline's restructuring plan before it even had a chance to take hold. Spirit had appeared to be regaining its financial footing. Days before the Iran war began, Spirit reached an agreement with its lenders on a restructuring plan that would cut its fleet and reduce flights during most of the year. The airline had also outlined changes to its guest loyalty program and introduced premium and economy choices to attract higher spending travelers. It had said publicly in February it was back on track to exit bankruptcy as early as this spring. Then on February 27th, the military operations began against Iran. You know the rest, resulted in higher jet fuel prices. A major new study shows that taking a break from social media may come with real benefits. Stanford University researchers had 36,000 Facebook and Instagram users log off in the weeks leading up to the 2020 presidential election. The results showed that their emotional well-being improved. The results showed a clear lift for Facebook users who stayed on the platform. For Instagram, the strongest improvements were seen among women ages 18 to 24. The study stands out as one of the largest experiments of its kind. YouTube and Instagram recently got slapped with a massive $6 million bill after an LA jury decided their addictive apps were to blame for a young woman's mental health spiral. And he called former Congressman Eric Swalwell a quote, effing creep. Comedian Bill Maher blasted the man accused of sexual assault in a real time takedown Friday, pointing to previous encounters with the disgraced Democrat that raised red flags. He said Swalwell's alleged sexual misconduct was a badly kept secret in Hollywood. Maher then brought up a number of other badly hidden secrets involving figures in the past who faced similar allegations, including Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and Bill Clinton. Maher's comments come as Swalwell battles a number of sexual misconduct harassment allegations from 5 different women who came forward to recount their experiences. The Department of Justice and the district attorneys for both Manhattan and Los Angeles are now reportedly investigating Eric Swalwell. In the meantime, as we said, he has stepped down from Congress. Coming up on 8:13. When we come back, starting a small business is difficult enough, but keeping up with 15,000 new laws every year to stay in compliance is a whole other story. We'll speak with culture and compliance strategist Evie Wentink about it. Cloudy skies early, becoming partly cloudy today. Highs about 50. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings, back in 2. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:15, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta, you come here, sir, because my basil plants just sent me a text saying
Oh no.
their little roots are frozen. What's that about?
Oh no, it's the cold weather that'll penetrate deep going into tomorrow. Thinking this is the second time I've had to bring in the sprinklers and the outdoor plants this season. And yet we hope it's the last, given how we have so much cold weather coming in for this afternoon and for tonight. Now, today's highs, we only make it up to 51 degrees west of the Parkway. It's actually the same temperature there along the coast because, well, it's been that cold even yesterday with that water coming in off of a still 50-degree ocean. All of the clouds that have returned for this morning after a pretty sunny start, moving by, giving us the threat of a few passing sprinkles this morning, and then another round of rain likely later on tomorrow night. So after so much cold weather throughout this morning, we only make it up into the upper 40s and low 50s across New Jersey, bring back the chill with the freezing weather for tomorrow, and then throughout the afternoon tomorrow, highs again struggling to leave the 50s, very unusually cold. Some rain comes in tomorrow night, lasting through Wednesday morning, clearing by Wednesday afternoon. But look at that, highs get back into the 70s briefly on Wednesday afternoon. We do it again with highs up around 70 on Thursday, and then the cooler weather settles in for the weekend with some wet weather on tap beginning on Friday night and lasting throughout the day on Saturday. Look at all this rain that comes in throughout the first half of the weekend, and most of it may linger into Sunday. This one computer model thinks it might exit by Sunday morning, but there's a good chance it lingers throughout the day on Sunday, giving us a completely wet weekend. It's a washout with more rain on the way for Tuesday. So this wet pattern that sets up gives us a lot of rainfall over the next several days, even the next week or so, with even the weekend forecast looking a bit wet. Likely have all of that cool weather linger with rain both days, Saturday and Sunday, Ken. So temperatures not going to be as warm as it was this past weekend, nor will it be as dry as a very soggy pattern sets up.
So I inhaled, pardon me. I took one inhalation and I'm choking. So that's what I'm so verklempt from the forecast. That's what it is, Mike. All right, my friend. Thank you, sir. 41 degrees right now in northern New Jersey, 38 in Trenton. Chilly, chilly, chilly indeed. But don't worry. After this coming week, it'll warm up. It's got to eventually, just by virtue of the fact the Earth is closer. Let's tell you what we got happening right now. There's a debris spill on Route 17. And that is northbound by Williams Ave and Hasbrook Heights. 2 right lanes closed. Do not have a camera shot. They're out of service, unfortunately, and we have no control over that. But we do have a problem. You said 280. Is that what we have, or 287, Pam? 287 at Route 1. So take a look. In fact, I have it right here. I'll take a look at it too. You see, just this is sun glare causing this. This is strictly sun glare. So you can see everybody, the sun is to their left. So they are headed south. The people coming towards you are headed south. And as they head south, they get that glare in their faces on the left side that's causing that slowdown. Pam and I are trying to figure out what's causing that psychedelic thing in the middle that it looks like Pam thinks it's a spider web. I don't know. I think it's a UFO. I think it's a UFO, Pam. That's what I think. Anyway, but it is what it is. We check out the Hudson River crossings right now because that's the only other thing to talk about in terms of any kind of serious issue. Some minor delays elsewhere, but nothing big. Hudson River crossings, Lincoln and Holland, 25 to 30. GWB now 40 minutes, just purely volume as people head eastbound and get the sun glare, a little bit of sun glare. And that's what you have. Upper level on the right, lower on the left is going to cost you about 40 in. 8:19 is our time, and America is known for being a wonderful place to start a business and do lots of things for that matter. Though certain states do make it easier, other states make it more difficult. Every single day, entrepreneurs and risk takers create jobs and foster innovation. In fact, in 2025, we hit a 22-year record for the most new businesses formed, 5.62 million new businesses, surpassing the previous high of 5.5 million set in 2023. But there's a type of inflation that's hitting every business. It's called compliance inflation. Evie Wentink is a culture and compliance strategist who spent years working for New Jersey companies developing compliance programs, helping to ensure they are in compliance with all federal and local laws. What used to be something that the general manager just kept an eye on now literally requires a whole team of people in a department to keep running smoothly. We say good morning to you, Evie.
Good morning, Ken.
Well, great to have you on. And what's annoying is you have people who are non-elected officials, they're bureaucrats, who literally take, whenever there's a new law, they then write 1,000 pages of detail on the law. So when Congress passes a law, for instance, about you must provide this to your employees, that's all they vote on. A lot of people don't realize the details get written by a committee. And that committee puts in minutia that goes on and on and on. You know about that minutia because you do this stuff. But that minutia is what causes small businesses to get in trouble. So talk about how difficult it is for small businesses to navigate this complicated web of regulations and requirements, 15,000 new laws a year.
So it can be harder than we expect, to get through all the different rules, laws, and regulations, local, federal, and state. Yes, there is a lot, but when you have someone in compliance helping to go through this and navigate it from the beginning, it's not as difficult. But when you're on your own, it could be very difficult. We do need to understand that all these variety of laws have been there to protect the public, the consumer. They're there for good reason, most of them anyway. But it really is important to have someone who understands how to navigate it, because someone in compliance may already understand the 15,000, like you said. So if there are new ones coming, then it's not that much. And we have definitely great resources and networks to help us navigate the certain areas. And
Well,
how
the
do
amazing
small,
thing,
okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. I was going to say the amazing thing is not only do you have all these federal laws, but you have state and local laws. So New York State, New Jersey, they have state laws. Then New York City has its own local laws. I mean, it seems mind blowing, and it seems like you are basically set up for failure by some municipalities. Like they're looking to come after you and fine you, and they're creating these roadblocks just to do that.
I would say, it could be tricky to navigate through all these different laws, but not all businesses have the same kind of risk. It
Mhm.
depends how big you are. It depends the value, your revenue. It depends the employees. It depends on the specific location that you may have. Those are all the different variables. So the best thing to do is sit down with a compliance professional and review your risk and set up your plan there. And the sooner, the better. When people are starting out, it's good to understand where your risk is and not be more reactive, not proactive. I would add another thing that if
Go ahead, Evie. Go ahead.
you lead with trust, right? Because you're doing certain checks and balances, and you can change the way you're looking at it from a burden that you have to comply
Mhm.
to a advantage. That's what I tell my client, is just how you look at it, right? Look at it as a competitive advantage, and then you can market with that. You can lead with that too.
Got you. For a lot of small businesses, though, the whole thought of this could be daunting. I mean, I guess a lot of small businesses don't even think about putting it in budget to hire a compliance person. But the good news is there are compliance consultants like yourself, right, who can come in and what would you do? Like on a monthly basis, take a look at things and see where they're in compliance and might not be to make sure the business is following the rules?
I think you would start with an audit to just see the scope, and then have a conversation of how little or how much they want to take on. Certainly, there could be, a monthly kind of a retainer or a conversation with the business, or setting up the whole plan. It can look different for depending on your size. I think
Mhm.
those things. So, um, large companies may have departments because there are so many different elements of compliance that they need to review and continue to follow. But for small business, it may be setting it up. It's maybe training the appropriate employees within their organization, and then they can go on their own and maybe check in every quarter or so, depending on what laws are changing. So, but it is really important to set it up correctly and be reactive as opposed to proactive.
And this applies to when we say small business, we think, oh, it's probably a business of 50 people. No, if you're a pizzeria that has 3 employees, you want to be in compliance, right? Compliance applies to all businesses in every state. Am I correct?
If you are registered business, it applies to you. Any business, even one single person LLC, um, you have certain things that you have to do, like annual filing with the state. That's part of compliance, and maybe because that's not you're not in the business to do annual filings, you wouldn't be aware that's what you have to do. But someone like myself or people in my position would work with clients and say, okay, these are the things you have to do for the state. These are the things you have to do for your employees, insurance or contract specific things. I mean, we take a look at it and create a plan.
Years ago, I remember when you had a payroll department in your company. Now, a lot of companies have outsourced that, right? They have like ADT or whatever do it, even smaller companies. And it's the same thing with compliance, right? So now this is like a blossoming industry because look, there's never going to come a point when the government starts getting rid of its old rules. They just keep piling on new rules, right? I mean, is there ever a case where they say, okay, we'll get rid of these old rules, but now these, or is it just like just add to the pile?
I think they advance, they change, and it just it's wild what happens. Yes, it's not so simple, and the larger company you are, the definitely the more rules are there. There's always a new rule coming up with something. Just look at data privacy, and then it changes by states, and then how are you navigating to what is required? Well, depending where you are. It is suggested that maybe you should model the requirements by California in the whole of United States just because they are the most strict. So it makes sense to start there and not having to change your rules every, couple of years or even less than that because they're continuously changing. If you were to look at a spreadsheet or if you did a research about the data privacy laws over the United States, you would see that there is maybe 20 some states that have rules at some point coming down the pipeline of the legislation and being signed, but you don't know when you're hitting when they're going to be passed. So how are you navigating that? That would mean if you don't set it up in the most strict way, you would have to continuously improve it. So those are the things that we would look at in compliance and the recommendation we would give depending on where you are. Healthcare and
Right.
anything to do with healthcare has additional requirements. If you are a company
Mhm.
that produces something, there may be safety requirements. If you're importing into
Right.
the United States, there may be requirements coming into the, with the goods that are coming in. There's so many different areas. So it really depends where you are. And it's important to get help from compliance professionals. I
And
would say
Evie, I just want to say this for anyone who thinks I can't afford a compliance professional, think about losing your company to major fines, and that can happen. We're out of time, Evie. Give everybody your website so if people want to contact you. And by the way, it doesn't cost $1 million for a consult. So talk to a person like Evie. But how do people get in touch with you?
I would say sometimes consultations or many times consultations are free. Just pick up the phone and ask a question, right? My website is www.ethicaledgeexperts.com.
There you go. That's what she does for a living. And there are people who do this for a living. That's why they exist, to keep you compliant. Culture and compliance strategist, Evie Wenting. Thank you for so much for coming on, my friend. Great to see you as always.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And we're coming back in two. 2026, 8:31. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Meteorologist Mike Favetta to tell you what your forecast is today. Good morning, Mike.
Hey Ken, good morning. We've got some clear sky on the way for later on this evening after a little bit of cloud cover return. So even though it was bright and sunny early this morning at sunrise, the rain that moves on in throughout the rest of this morning into the midday, kind of putting a little bit of a damper on the morning's forecast. However, there will be some sunshine returning later on this afternoon, say as early as 2, 3 o'clock, and that lasts into this evening. All of this rain has done a great job of knocking the tree pollen levels lower, so it won't be as rough of a day if you're an allergy sufferer. Weeds and grasses starting to show up in the levels, given how so much of that rain has allowed for the grasses to really turn green and grow quite a bit. We're nowhere near the records because we set those last week for records highs, but it's the record low tonight, likely breaking that, getting down to the freezing mark. Last time it got this cold on this date, 1953. So with the average cold, which should be in the low 40s, it's already feeling like average chill, especially with the cold weather around this morning into the afternoon. The rain chances over the next few days pretty high. Specifically, again, next chance for rain on Wednesday, late tomorrow night into early Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon looks beautiful though, with nice dry conditions, and then quite a bit of wet weather on ahead for this weekend as the rainfall totals likely less than half an inch going in through the middle of the week, but this weekend's rain, that could put us over the inch mark, and that'll get us back into average territory, considering how much of this month so far has been pretty dry. We've been in a little bit of a rainfall deficit. We'll talk more about that with the next weather update. Here are the clouds from this morning, giving way to a few showers midday. That's gone by this afternoon. Back to beautiful sunshine with clear sky on the way for this evening, but it's that clear, still air that allows the temperature to drop so quickly into tomorrow morning. We start off again tomorrow clear, but the clouds come back tomorrow night. A little bit of rain for early Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday afternoon sees the sunshine and warmer weather. That'll bring our highs into the low 70s again. Thursday afternoon is dry, but Friday sets up the cloudy weekend with the rain that settles in for most of this weekend, both days, Saturday and Sunday. 7-day forecast, plenty of clear sky heading into the upcoming weekend with Thursday and Friday looking great. There's our high of 70 on Thursday afternoon. The trouble is the weekend. We can't seem to get it clear as the showers that move in on Saturday probably linger into Sunday, with those temperatures starting in the 40s and struggling just to leave the 50s, even at the coast, with the weather looking pretty damp, pretty dreary. At the very worst, it'll be cloudy, but I think there's a good chance of rain again both days this upcoming weekend.
So I can say the damp weather. Oh, sorry. It
Damp weather,
sounds
that's right.
French. Hey, just like those damp Yankees and the damp weather. All right. All right, sir. We appreciate you as always. 41 degrees northern New Jersey right now, 38 degrees in Trenton, and it's 38 degrees also in Cape May, 39 in Vineland as we take a look throughout the state of New Jersey at our temperatures. We have a malfunctioning traffic light now. This is on Route 40 westbound east of Route 603, which is English Creek Avenue, Egg Harbor Township. Left lane is closed. Over to the Hudson River crossings already we go because that's where we have some delays. Let's start at, we're starting at 139, Pam? Yes. So this is 139. This is, you can see it's moving, just a little bit of a slowdown as people approach. It's a different camera shot today. As people approach the Holland Tunnel, you can see the flow is moving. This is from Jersey City, one of the side streets. They moved the camera to give you a better shot. We had been begging that they wipe the lens. I think they did. It looks nice and clean today. We also take a look over at the Lincoln Tunnel approach, Columbia Avenue, and this is the approach to 495. From 495 to the Helix, if you're heading eastbound, you can see it's actually moving pretty well. This is about a 20-minute pass in time through the Lincoln Tunnel into Manhattan at this early hour. Just a little sun in the eyes. And then we go to the GWB. This is the slowest of all. There are some delays across midspan. One possible report here of a tractor trailer that broke down midspan. That's causing a little bit of a delay. That would be in the upper level on the right, lower levels on the left. Either way, it's going to be about 30 minutes in by the GWB. 8:36 is our time, and a horrific scene happened in Newark late Friday night. A massive blaze ripped through several buildings, injuring 6 firefighters and leaving scores of residents with no place to live. The flames started about 10:30 inside a commercial building, Ocean Street in the Ironbound, before spreading to 4 buildings nearby, including at least 3 multifamily homes. Flames burst through windows as smoke alarms could be heard wailing, while more than 100 firefighters spent hours working that fire. It took 5 hours to get under control. 60 people are now homeless. The American Red Cross had to help 15 families get temporary housing, clothing, and food. The cause of the fire not yet known. It's under investigation. We hope our best or wish our best for those families. A man described as a MAGA influencer was attacked in West Hollywood by a gay couple after questioning them about whether they are fit to be parents, leading to one of the men being arrested. Riley Nemi and Off the Record USA were interviewing two men with a baby about adoption rights when one of the gay men attacked him. But listen to the details. In the clip, the influencer was attacked by one of the gay parents after the influencer dropped a statistic claiming, quote, gay men are statistically much more likely to commit child molestation, which, by the way, I've looked up, and that's not necessarily the case. The influencer then pressed if the two men had paid $50,000 to a woman to be pregnant. One of the gay parents then questioned who he was and threatened to attack him before Riley said they chased after him. The upset gay parent allegedly repeatedly struck him on the back of the head, causing Nemi to fall into the camera. The attacker who allegedly assaulted him, David Vullen, now facing felony charges. But I just want you to stop and think before you're ready to point a finger. Should never justifying assault, and there is no but here. I do want you to think what it would be like if a stranger came up to you holding your infant, you're holding your infant, and suggested that you molest your child and that you paid somebody to give birth to your child. And what does it feel like? You can get it. You can get it. Just put it out there. Look, let's all be nice to each other. There are nice ways to ask people questions without sounding accusatory. That's all I want to put out there. Just be nice to people. It is 8:38. Analilia Mejia, a one-time labor organizer backed by ultra-leftists such as AOC and Senator Bernie Sanders, is headed to Congress. Mejia, who ran on a platform of Medicare for all, a $25 minimum wage with the first $40,000 of income tax-free, a wealth tax, abolishing ICE and holding President Trump and his administration accountable, defeated Republican candidate Joe Hathaway in Thursday's special election in New Jersey's 11th congressional district. Mejia will fill the final 8 months of the term of Governor Mikey Sherrill, who stepped down from Congress in November after winning the Garden State's gubernatorial election. Sadly, though, in the 11th congressional district, just 5% of all those eligible to vote in the 11th CD actually voted. 95% of the people ignored it, did not vote, didn't show up. You could have voted absentee. You could have mailed in a ballot. Didn't do it, didn't care to. Everybody, if you live in the district, and I do, you get mailed a card reminding you, but they didn't. Only that if you want to keep a democratic republic, you better get off your butts and vote. I don't care who you are and what you stand for, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Liberal, Conservative. Doesn't matter. Preserve our democratic republic. Vote. When only 5% of the people vote to determine what 95% get, you get somebody who you may or may not like. Think about it. It is 8:40 right now. Greta Thunberg, the radical environmentalist turned Palestinian activist, is back in the newspapers. Seems the leftists' Freedom Flotilla, which set sail from Barcelona yesterday for another anti-Israel voyage to Gaza, has been rocked by scandal after one of its woke leaders was accused of sexual misconduct with at least 3 volunteers on board. A Brazilian group named the alleged Lothario as activist Tiago Avila in an ex-post. The 39-year-old Avila sailed to Gaza in June aboard the 12-person Madeleine, where he with fellow activist Thunberg, arms around each other's shoulders before they were eventually detained by Israeli forces and deported. He joined the larger 500 activist global Samud flotilla convoy in September, during which infighting among senior leadership led Thunberg to step down from the steering committee and off the main boat. The activist was then seen dragging her suitcase along a Tunisian dock to transfer to a different ship. Avila, who left his wife and 2-year-old daughter at home in Brazil to embark on what is now his 4th sailing trip since June, having gone twice to Gaza and once to Cuba, denied the allegations. It is 8:41. Mayor Mamdani's New York appears to be out of control. Streets are strewn with garbage, and now there is shocking video shot early Saturday morning showing reckless drivers whipping around the intersection at 69th Street and Elliott Avenue in Queens. Over 100 cars jammed the roads along the border of Maspeth and Middle Village. Nothing was done about it for over an hour. Not the fault of the police. Nobody called them. Pardon me. A man waved a Palestinian flag as he burned rubber, narrowly missing those standing around the car while it made donuts. Flames rose from the street as hordes of 20 somethings recorded the reckless drivers and did nothing about it. The drivers then sped off as cops arrived. Local elected officials called the incident disgusting. 3 people even jumped on top of one of the responding police cars and shattered the windshield before getting away. The NYPD says they responded in just minutes from the call, but it appears it may have been some time before a call was placed. Summons. And horror in Shreveport, Louisiana, after 8 children and teens were killed early yesterday in a mass shooting by allegedly the father. It may have been a domestic call. That's what we're told. The ages ranging from 1 to 14, all killed in different locations. The shootings began around 6 a.m. inside a home rather, and police are now investigating to see what led to this. It is now 41 degrees at 8:43. When we come back, property taxes remain one of the biggest financial burdens for many New Jersey residents. Back in 2. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 8:45, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Clouds early, mixed with sun, and then becoming partly sunny, partly cloudy later. Highs in the low 50s. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta, Garden State Forecast. And Mike, by next week, will I be able to replant my now dead basil plants?
No, the basil plants have been inside, right? You brought them in every single time and kind of kept them nice and warm, give them a little blanket. Each
I
basil
don't know if
plant gets
these
its
are
own
going to
little
survive.
blanket.
These are looking pretty sad. These are looking
Oh
they
man.
are literally they were big leaf green the other day. Now they look just wilted. They look sad.
Meanwhile,
Real
I think
sad.
I got some bad seeds. I tried to grow them from seedlings myself, and they haven't been coming up. So we'll have to have a chat with the seed people, the seed
Yes.
police. I'm sure that's a thing, the seed police. We've got some very warm weather on the way next week. It's this week that the chill is around, especially this morning, with some very dry weather around especially there in Monmouth County, 19% of average for the last 30 days. So we're in a solid 1 to 2 inch rainfall deficit just for the end of March into the early part of April. And even going into the next few weeks, we'll see that deficit get better. But it's a moderate drought for most of the state with that tan color, given how dry the weather has been. I think we'll see a significant rainfall over the next 7 days with all of the wet weather that's forecast to move on in. Some of it arriving as soon as this morning. We get another quick round of rain between now and the lunch hour, and even through the end of the month, forecasting slightly wetter than average conditions for most of the East Coast, right down to the south and even extending to California. It's this below average temperature, the chill that settles in for the first part of May, as most of the deep south stays nice and warm with above average weather there. It stays chilly all throughout the next few days, with the exception of Thursday. I think Wednesday sets a little bit warmer, Thursday gets up to 70, and then we're right back to cool weather this weekend, especially into next week. Monday's temperature of only 55 degrees. So yeah, the spring chill returns, especially this weekend down the shore, with rain on the way both days, Saturday and Sunday. And then I think the clouds could linger, Ken, into next Monday.
Did you have to? Did you have to let it
Mm,
linger? Just a little cranberry song. Okay, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go
you
put
too.
a heated blanket on my basil plants and tell them Uncle Mike Favetta's phone number so they could have a conversation with you. Because I know with what's going on in your life right now, you have plenty of time to talk to basil plants that are upset with you.
Yep,
So,
plenty of
yeah.
time.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. We'll check you tomorrow. It is 41 degrees northern New Jersey, 38 degrees in Trenton, 38 also in Vineland and Cape May. 8:48 is our time. Checking traffic very quickly. We have a malfunctioning traffic light, Route 40, and this is westbound east of Route 575, English Creek Ave, Egg Harbor Township. Left lane is closed. Go to 495. This is the approach to the Lincoln Tunnel, and you will see that it is slow but moving. Just a little easterly sun in the eyes causing the slowdown. It's going to cost you 20 to 25 minutes in via the Lincoln. The Holland Tunnel approach right now, 139, you'll see it's kind of slow but moving as well. And some of the same folks you could see. It's wow, look at that. So here's east is to your left. This is by the curve in Jersey City before you get into the Holland. So this is, let's see, east to your left. That means the people on the right are headed south. You got to do a quick mental configuration. So that means let's see, once the people on the right side of the screen come up, they're going to make a left turn, and that's how they get into the Holland Tunnel. So seems to be moving. That's pretty good. GWB upper and lower levels, a little on the slow side. It's going to cost you 35 to 40. And right now, upper level on the right, lower level on the left. And now our friends from AARP. All right. So we started talking about it a second ago, and property taxes certainly remain one of the biggest financial burdens for a lot of people who live in New Jersey, especially if you're older and you have to stay in your homes and you're on a fixed income. Programs like Stay NJ, along with Anchor and the Senior Freeze, are designed to ease that pressure. But understanding how they work and who benefits can be very confusing. AARP has been advocating for stronger, more accessible relief and for policies that truly meet the needs of residents. And joining us now to break it all down, Katie Squires, Associate State Director of Advocacy at AARP, and Robert Rashkes, who is an AARP advocacy volunteer who has experienced this issue firsthand. Thank you both for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
You bet. Katie, what property tax relief programs are currently available in New Jersey, and how do they work together for residents?
Well, you listed them, Ken. There's the Senior Freeze, there's Stay New Jersey, and there's Anchor. And what a great recent change that happened was making it a consolidated application so that people just have to fill out one application. It's the blue book that folks get in the mail, and the rest of the information is figured out for them.
Yeah, and talk about the impact that programs like Stay NJ have and what kind of relief homeowners can realistically expect. Because for a lot of folks on fixed income, even if it's a few $1,000s, it could make or break whether they can stay in New Jersey in retirement.
Absolutely. And we are hearing that in the surveys we've run. We're hearing that from people as young as pre-retirement, 50 to 64, that they're making decisions whether they're going to be able to stay in the state or not based on property taxes. About 50% of the people we surveyed said they seriously consider leaving New Jersey. And of those people, 80% said it property taxes were a driving factor. So the thousands of dollars do add up. If you're on a fixed income, $1,000 coming your way makes a huge difference, especially with property tax bills averaging north of $10,000. And as Robert will talk about, in other communities, it's well above that 10,000 figure.
And you're looking at states like Florida right now that have no state income tax, and they're talking about abolishing their property tax. So if you're on a fixed income, how does New Jersey compete against something like that? And Robert, on a personal level, what does property tax relief mean to you and your ability to stay in your home right here in the beautiful Garden State?
Well, it's very important because last year we had a property tax revaluation in West Orange, and the new average property tax bill is $16,000 per person. My taxes went up $3,000, and we had to pay the $3,000 increase in the last 2 quarters of the year. So all of a sudden, I have it's like sticker shock, and luckily at that point, I start getting checks from my from the blue booklet I filed last year, and that made the difference from depleting my checking account.
Oh, I mean, and it's not like you're on a fixed income at this point. You're retired, you budget, and it's like they think that you're supposed to just get this money from the sky. You recently wrote an op-ed about Stay NJ, Robert. What
Yes.
message were you hoping you could send to lawmakers and the public about this?
Well, the importance of keeping the promise. We're counting on the money that we wanted. We're looking to make sure that it's a promise, and we're relying on it because people are worried. People are scared. We at the township council meeting the other night, we heard a report of a senior in West Orange whose taxes went up $6,000 with the revaluation, and that person is working 3 jobs and is hanging on by a thread just to stay in West Orange. So it's very concerning. Everybody's asking, where's the blue books? And the West Orange Senior Services Department, they hold seminars bringing in the state treasury people, and it's very well attended. Everybody shows up because they need that property tax relief to stay here.
And all you want to do is enjoy your retirement. You shouldn't have to be stressing like this. Katie, talk about some of the biggest challenges that residents are facing when they try to access these programs.
Well, I think there's still a lack of awareness. We have been having some regular telephone town halls with the Treasury, and when we survey the callers, many of them still haven't heard of at least one of the 3 programs. So one of the benefits of all the programs being on one application is it's a natural way for people to hear about it. But we need to make sure that these programs continue. So every year, it's something that we at AARP are fighting for to make sure that relief is there for them.
And thank God for AARP for that. I full disclosure, I've been a member of AARP for 13 years. I love it and all that it offers. Just saying it, putting it out there. It's one of the best bargains out there for joining a group that really helps a lot. And Katie, as lawmakers work through the state budget, what should they be prioritizing when it comes to property tax relief?
We want to make sure that the promise for Stay New Jersey is maintained. We want to make sure that relief, especially the full $6,500 benefit, is there, and that the program is maintained. People are counting on this money. The state budget timeline is very different than our household timeline. We typically don't budget middle of the year to middle of the year. We typically budget January to December. And so as folks are making their budgets for the year and they're trying to plan things out, and they see these checks come in from Stay New Jersey and see what they're able to do, what they're able to stop putting off, for instance, what they're able to, medicines that they're able to purchase, food, higher groceries that they have to pay for, utilities, you name it. This is such a huge relief for folks. And so they want to be able to be sure that they can count on it.
All right. And Robert, from your perspective, and you kind of touched on it a little bit already, what are residents most concerned about right now when it comes to rising property taxes?
How are we going to pay for it? And can we stay in our homes and our communities that we love? And West Orange is an age-friendly community, and I want to be able to stay here and age in New Jersey. And it's difficult, and everybody has to figure out how we're going to do it. And these programs are vital.
Amen to that. I mean, here you've helped build New Jersey. You made New Jersey the great place it is for the next generation. And then basically it's like, okay, now you could leave. No, you want to enjoy your retirement. Robert, do you know of a website where people can learn more about eligibility and apply for the programs?
Well, I look forward to getting my form in the mail every year. And it says for more information, call 1-888-238-1233 to get your application for the property tax relief program.
There you go. And then Katie, is there also a website, Katie?
Yes, we have aarp.org/NJ resources that folks can head over there and find out more information about property tax relief and other help that's available across the state.
And I'm glad Robert also gave the 800 number because a lot of, especially older people, my mother would look at me and say, huh, WW what? So the 800 number is very important also as an option. So I appreciate you both very much. Katie Squires, Associate State Director of Advocacy at AARP, and AARP Advocacy Volunteer Robert Rashkis. Thank you both for coming on this morning. Let's hope that this is dealt with so that our seniors can enjoy their retirement here in the beautiful Garden State. We appreciate you both.
Yeah, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Ken.
You bet. Our time now is 8:57. Meteorologist Mike Favetta once again saying we could see some cloudy skies early. Otherwise, it'll be partly cloudy, partly sunny today. Highs only making it to the low 50s throughout the Garden State, a little cooler toward the water, a little warmer inland. And that's on New Jersey Mornings for your Monday, April 20th, 2026. I'm Ken Rosato. Remember, you could stream us at onnj.com, onlaca.com, onfla.com. Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X, and now streamed live on Substack, Rumble, Twitch, and Local Now. Catch you again tomorrow morning at 7. Tell all your friends about us. Till tomorrow, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.